We all know we had a supervillain on our hands from the moment Hans Landa stepped on the scene in Inglorious Basterds. He was Quentin Tarantino's Jew hunter, which automatically qualifies him as one of the worst people in history. However, his exuberant demeanor and dark sense of humor, as well as his controversial habits, were completely unexpected. Christoph Waltz portrayed Hans Landa. Waltz went on to win an Academy Award for his role in the film. The way he presented himself was off the charts, and we can say for sure that there are very few actors that can manage to balance the thin line between being completely and utterly crazy while still being funny. We can actually learn a lot from the screenplay and even the acting choices made in this film. One thing to know is that nothing done in this movie was done without a reason. So if you want to find out why Hans Landa is the most terrifying villain, keep on watching and let's get this show on the road. During World War II, Hans Landa is a fictional SS colonel. Yet the crimes he performs are far from imaginary. It's safe to assume that his character was shaped by the horror stories and terrifying principles of the Nazi Party's deadliest leaders, resulting in one frightening guy. Landa is a member of the Austrian Nazi Party and is known as the Jew Hunter for his work in locating and exterminating Jews sheltering in France. His wicked character is so ingrained in him that he is a contender for being a worse human than the other villain in the film, Adolf Hitler, who unlike Landa is a real man. Inglorious Basterds shows this maniacal villain as the quintessential Type A personality. Hans Landa basically has it all: a crystal clear goal, a very eye-catching distinct personality. But worst of all, his iron-sharp ambition so nasty that he's willing to screw over fellow Nazis to achieve it. The thing is, it's scary enough to witness a Nazi Jew hunter, but then you have a Nazi who has no allegiance to anyone. That's absolutely positively terrifying. Nothing can stop him, which is what makes him so evil. He's a survivor who will outsmart, outplay, and outclass everyone to achieve his personal triumph. If you had something Hans Landa wanted, he would not hesitate to step over you to get it. But this, of course, is not the only reason why Hans Landa is the scariest villain. And what better way to understand this than looking towards the writer of this demon of a man, Tarantino. Landa was the most fun Tarantino ever had writing a character, he stated in an interview with Empire magazine. The moment he walks into a scene, he owns it, Tarantino stated. He was that terrific at all things he was supposed to be good at. He continued by mentioning that he was in an odd position because he had never written about such a character. It was the fact that he was not just a nasty, deplorable guy, but also a Nazi known as the Jew Hunter, who was hunting down Jews and sending them to death camps. But the audience wanted him to turn up near the conclusion of the film, sort of figuring out what the bastards were up to. They aren't rooting for him, but it's a fucking movie, and if he figures it out, it'll be much more thrilling, Tarantino went on. Generally, people tend to believe that movie characters, no matter how evil, will end up doing the right thing. And when the character doesn't have that make-up arc, we tend to feel cheated, which makes the character feel even more evil than before. Now, don't get us wrong, Hans Landa was evil, even without our hindsight bias. But this really added on to the evil villain angle the movie had been going for. Tarantino talked very candidly about this in the interview. He said, "You don't want him to let you down, do you? We've established that he knows everyone's secrets, so he has to know theirs as well. And if he does, it will make for a more thrilling conclusion." Landa is more or less the calm, sensible villain who understands that just annihilating his foes will result in a shambles and a slew of escapees who may return to cause him additional difficulties. Yet, for some reason, he lets one person escape at the start of the movie when he could have easily gunned her down like his soldiers did her family. Why would something like this happen? Because word of the family's misfortune, if disseminated by the survivor, could bring even more prey for him to hunt. After all, a Jew hunter who just annihilates his target would be out of work in no time. As macabre and ghastly as this sounds, it appears to be true, as his passive-aggressive demeanor and calculated mind combine to produce a figure who is both brutal and cunning at the same time. You see what we mean? He's incredibly cunning, sharp-witted, and most importantly very patient. These are the few qualities that you would not want in a villain, yet Hans Landa has it all. This makes him a villain that would definitely make you queasy as soon as he gets on the screen. Despite this, he had a peculiar childlike glee at times, and an amicable attitude at others when he felt compelled to interact with those he suspected of being in cahoots with the people he was chasing. Landa could be the nicest guy in the world and enchant just about everyone, but in the blink of an eye, he could turn deadly and as dangerous as a viper preparing to strike. This makes him one of the evilest villains in film history. So now that we've talked about Landa's general personality, let's look into some of his most intense scenes that show how unhinged and ruthless he is. When he claims calculating demeanor is broken, he reveals his instability in fleeting flashes. All through the film, we witness him execute some twisted and horrible crimes. But if we wondered if he could do any worse at first, we no longer do. We know he can. The first scene in which he enters the residence of the man who is harboring Shoshana and the others is tense. The man recognizes them, and he's aware of Landa's identity and activities. The Jew hunter is known for his ability to smell out his prey. And despite knowing that this man is sheltering Jewish immigrants, he sits down and speaks to him in a courteous and almost friendly tone. As Landa continues to speak in his calm, rational voice, even smiling and engaging in a nice conversation, you can sense the danger rising to dangerous heights. The way you can feel Landa's voice laced with poison gives us the goosebumps. But as you might guess, the scenario ends with a Tarantino-style murder, with Shoshana sprinting away, covered in blood, and not even seeing where she's going as the dread that Landa managed to unleash propels her ahead. How can we forget the legendary Strudel Scene? Of course, the nervous tension of the scenario stems from the fact that Shoshana remembers him, but the fashion in which he attacks the strudel as he eats it appears to give a message that Landa has a lot of pent-up hostility that he's simply waiting to release. Christoph Waltz even agreed that the strudel sequence was significant because it demonstrated that Landa was not only dangerous, but also knew how to communicate without saying anything. He certainly recognizes Shoshana, but he proceeds to lurk like a patient monster until the right opportunity to strike comes around. We don't know about you, but there is something so sinister and terrifying about a killer that is willing to wait to find the right moment to attack. They strategize and conspire, and they're usually rather good at it. Hans Landa is among the finest because he understands how to play the game and when to strike. But he also knows how to give subliminal signs that he's approaching, heightening the horror he evokes. However, he still has that amiable demeanor, that one characteristic that never seems to go. As devoted as he is to his task, it appears that he is more than eager to destroy the whole Reich without much, if any, regret when he makes a deal with Aldo to give up the high command. Another reason he's the perfect villain, whether in a Tarantino film or not, is that he has no qualms about doing whatever it takes to survive, no matter the cost. Hans Landa is a survivalist who makes the most of a villainous position he's been handed, and that's what makes him so dangerous. Well, that's all from our side. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. So why do you think Hans Landa is such a terrifying character? Let us know in the comments down below. Until next time.